Our church is at war.
We're running out of options. Find Professor Langdon.
The Vatican has called upon Robert Langdon, an old foe in their minds, to help decipher mysterious Illuminati codes.
Will you come with me?
It's a fascinating element of history, ripe for the picking, when someone with a mind as fertile as Dan Brown chooses to focus his attention on it.
Ambigrams. Ambi means both, gram means word. It's a word that can be read both right side up and and upside down. They are very, very difficult to create. Anybody who's tried to write their name, for example, such that it can be read upside down will find that it's almost impossible.
The word ambigram was not coined until a handful of others and myself had begun to create ambigrams.
That's common for a symbol, like a yin and yang or a swastika, but that's a word.
Wordplay was published in 1992. Dan Brown's father bought a copy of Wordplay. He is a mathematician. The mathematicians are very interested in this sort of symmetrical design.
There are a set of 5 brands.
A few years later, Dan called me. He wondered if I could design some ambigrams to work into the plot of Angels and Demons.
I'm familiar with Illuminati lore and the legend of the brandings.
Dan wanted ambigrams of the 4 classical elements, earth, air, fire, and water. He wanted an ambigram that encompasses all 4 together. And I want an ambigram of the word Illuminati. Do you think you can do that? And I said, well, you know, I'm really going to try very hard.
But the 5th, that's a mystery. Maybe it's this.
The earth, air, fire, and water ambigrams individually and in this configuration really were very cooperative because they're made up of some of the most familiar, most widely used letters in our alphabet. Watch here, I'm gonna change earth into water. There you are. And I can also turn fire into air.
We are under attack from an old enemy, the Illuminati.
The Illuminati ambigram is not as cooperative as the earth, air, fire, and water ambigrams were. The all too regular repetition of vertical strokes in the ILL and the TI gave me much less to work with to differentiate them than I would normally want.
They're pointing to it. The angels.
One of the things that we have to go through in ambigram design with virtually all ambigrams is to make some things appear in one place and make them disappear in another place. And there are a few good examples here in the Angels and Demons ambigram. The crossbar of the A here amounts, oh, excuse me, I apparently have this upside down. Okay, there you go. The crossbar of the A becomes nothing more than an extra flourish on the S. Similarly, the completely important tail on the G is again over at this end merely a flourish that came off of the O. So the freedom of a stroke that takes on this sort of decorative quality is actually performing a very significant role in the readability.
That Illuminati ambigrammatic symbol has been considered a myth for 400 years.
Early in the movie, Robert Langdon's explaining that for hundreds of years, people have attempted to create Illuminati ambigrams, but ultimately failed.
It's remarkable. Singular.
The props people asked me to create failed attempts at the Illuminati ambigram, which was sort of an interesting and challenging concept on its own. If you look very carefully, the book next to this on the bookshelf is Wordplay.
Professor Langdon.
Yes.
Welcome to the Vatican City.
I'm from New Hampshire. We had a Governor Langdon. I live right next to Langdon Place. There's a Langdon Hall around here. Langdon is a name that has been recurring in my life for a long time. And when John Langdon created the artwork for this book, I just sort of felt like that was the straw that broke the camel's back and that the name would be Langdon.
I was really surprised that Dan intended to name the main character in his books Robert Langdon.
Robert Langdon.
Vittoria Vetra.
And now it just seems really amazing that a great actor like Tom Hanks is walking around wearing my name. It's pretty amazing.